Welcome to the Stokastic No House Advantage NBA show for the 9-game Thursday night NBA slate. We're finally back from the All-Star break. I'm your host, Neil Orfield. You can find me on Twitter at PlayerQDFS. This show is produced by Jordan Klein. You can find him on Twitter at Jordan Klein. And we are joined today by a guy you may have seen me do a show or two with before, Nerd Ass Greg Ehrenberg. You can find him on Twitter at Ehrenberg DFS. While you're coming in, please do like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit that notification button so you can get alerts when our shows go live. If you haven't already signed up for No Host Advantage, you can use promo code Stokastic to take advantage of our first match deposit bonus up to $100. Greg, is this the first show we've ever done together where I'm the host and you're the analyst?
Yes, it is. Actually, there's very few shows I do at all now where I am the analyst and somebody else is the host. Like I used to do, so Live Before Lock used to be, and Jordan's producing, he would know better than me. Like Eric and I used to more or less alternate, right, Jordan? It would be like half the time him, half the time me. And then at some point we made a change where I host that show every single night. So yeah, it's very rare that I do shows where I am not the host. And then, yeah, you and I, we've never done this before. So it's good. I like the difference in change in dynamic here. And then it also helps me out a whole bunch too, because we did a show before I hosted and then I went right from there to a meeting. That meeting is still going on, but I've got just a really loaded day, basically from like noon until 7:30. Not only do I not have any breaks in my schedule, but I have things that are happening at the same time in my schedule. So it does help that you're hosting this.
Yeah, I'm happy to host it. It's kind of fun to be in the host chair for once, because you and I have probably done 50 shows together over the course of the couple of years I've been at Stokastic. I mean, we've done the NFL strategy show on Saturday for 35 times. Then we've done a number of other shows together, and this is the first one that I've ever hosted with you. So kind of fun to be in the host chair for once. All right, we'll talk talk some NHA. NHA does offer two types of contests, and if you'd rather just play against the house, you can do that. If you hit all of your picks, you can net up to 20x your entry fee. Greg, have you checked out the versus the house competition for tonight yet?
I have checked out everything. I have them pulled up in front of me, but we should also tell people the promo going on right now, because you're not gonna find a better prop than this anywhere. Did you see what the over/under is for Ja Morant points on NHA today?
I did see. That's actually what I was going to ask you about when I was asking you if you'd seen it. Yeah, the over/under is 0.5 points for Ja Morant today. Seems like a pretty decent bet. We had one of these promos for the Super Bowl. I think they set the Patrick Mahomes over/under at 1,000.5 passing yards, something like that. So this is a similar. It's a gimme pick, and the Super Bowl was, I that got me to play Noah. So then I did a 5-leg parlay, and I hit that one using our tools, just using the Stokastic projection. So it's always nice when you can get one of these free picks. Like you can't make a bet that's just one pick, so it's not exactly free money, but it's free, like very good positive EV to have this bet in your card. So yeah, I'm excited about this one. Are you you think you're gonna look at the versus the house a little bit tonight just because we've got this promo?
And I like the over for Ja Morant. That's gonna be my first pick of the day. Now you're not allowed to take that one, but I want to make sure that I win right here. So I get the leg up with the freebie, taking the over on Ja Morant. Also, I put out on my Twitter, we're doing a giveaway. So because NHA is doing this with Ja Morant, I put up a thing on my Twitter page, which is with the NHA prop of over under 0.5 points for Ja Morant. If anybody goes to my Twitter page and responds to the tweet I put out, it is guess how many points Ja Morant is going to have. Whoever comes closest is going to get a free month of Stokastic plus Platinum. So free giveaway. Go to my Twitter page. I'll post it right now in the YouTube chat. And look, Don Loki from London, he could participate right here. So I went and threw that in, and anybody respond to that, how many points do you think Ja Morant is going to have? If you get the number right, or whoever comes closest is going to get one free month of Stokastic plus Platinum. And then we also do have a bunch of free tools for NHA up on the site as well.
Yeah, I'm hosting the show, and I didn't even know that we had this promo going on. Is this a Greg promo, a Greg specific? You putting this out there, or
Yeah. This is something that I put out there, and then here's I don't want to reveal the curtains too much, but here's what's going to happen because I made this executive decision I made on my own. Somebody's going to win, and then News God is going to get a message from me, and I'm going to say, give this guy a free month. Like that's there's not real, like, nope. I didn't tell anybody else I was doing this. I just decided it, and then News God will do the legwork afterwards.
Yeah, it's a fun look behind the curtains to how things work here at Stokastic, especially when Greg is doing stuff, going rogue a little bit with his own promo. That's fun. All right, well, that's the versus the house competition, which, with the freebie bet, I definitely think you should take advantage of that. At the very least, just make a versus the house card with just 2 bets on it. I typically am probably going to make more than 2 bets on my card, but you've got the freebie bet. I think you can do this one with a minimum of 2 picks. So I would recommend taking advantage of that. But what we're primarily going to be talking about in this video are the pick'em contests at No House Advantage. No House Advantage is offering a few different pick'em contests tonight, and they're doing us a favor. They're intentionally creating contests that are likely to have some overlay. This is a rare opportunity in this space, so I would recommend taking advantage of this one as well. We have a few different pick'em contests tonight. The biggest is the $5 buy-in slam dunk contest. The contest allows for up to 1,200 entries, but the prize pool is guaranteed. So even if it doesn't fill up all the way, the prizes listed will still be paid out. The top prize for the slam dunk contest is $2,000. If you're not familiar with No House Advantage pick'em contest, it's pretty simple. They post a bunch of static prop lines for different players. You choose the over or the under on each, and you rank them in order of your confidence, because your top pick gets 10 points if you get it right, your second pick gets 9 points, etc., etc. Your bottom pick gets just 1 point if you get it right. Then your team or teams are ranked against the field, and the team with the most points wins the contest. And of course, there are prizes for second, third, etc., etc. as well, but you're just ranked against the other people making teams in this contest. If you're not sure who to pick, we've got Greg here to give us some of his favorite picks for the slate. Greg, how do you want to you want to start with some overs and then go to unders, or we want to just go with some of your favorites right away?
Yeah, one other thing I wanted to point out too, and it doesn't make any difference to me. We could just kind of do it, based on whichever ones project the best. But typically when we're doing these shows, there's a bunch of players who have like 90% projected win rate, 96. Sometimes it has like 99 because the numbers will be so far off. We don't have that today. And I think the reason, and there's still a lot of props that project really well, but the reason we don't have like the 90 plus, like no brainer 10-point ones to throw into our lineups is we just had the NBA All-Star break. We're coming back. Players are healthy, right? This doesn't happen all that often. Right. So usually the way that there's so many inefficiencies in the pricing over at NHA is either somebody's ruled out unexpectedly and then the props are too low, or somebody's been out for a couple of days and the projections are too high and then they come back. But just because it's kind of straight up, everybody's playing, more or less as expected. And if I look at the injury report right now, we have Jeremy Sochan is questionable, but he's not going to be somebody like massively changes this mark. And that's it. That's the only players listed as questionable. So with that in mind, like we're not going to have the free squares for the pick 'em plays that we normally would have.
Yeah, and to be honest, I prefer it. Like I sometimes I go into a slate and I'm a little bit concerned with like duping, like just having a lineup that we're gonna have too many people win the top prize and have to split it a number of ways. I don't think that's as big of a concern tonight, just because we don't have any of those real gimme bets. Do you think this is more fun just to have a number of bets, a good number? And we've got several in like the 70 percentile range, but it's unlikely that you get 10 out of 10 that are, hitting 70% of the time. That's just basic math. It's unlikely that they all hit. So I think it's kind of more fun just because it's going to be fewer people. Maybe nobody splits that top prize. What do you think of it?
Well, it gives us more to talk about because, a lot of times I do this, and I think usually Thursdays I've been doing this with Lofty. And, a lot of times we go through, it's just like, here are your 6 free squares. And then from there, we'll, kind of figure out what else we like. But yeah, this gives us more, it definitely gives us more decision points to make. And, it's actually funny as we start to get into it, because so many players projected really highly last week, where we had, I don't know, I want to say there was like 5 or 6 that we had a 90% plus or greater chance of winning. We were trying to figure out which one was going to be a popular prop that we could take the opposite side of for leverage. And the one I landed on was Giannis. Like, he's pretty live to a game before the All-Star break. Maybe gets banged up. And then what happens? He ends up getting hurt in that game. So we did find our leverage play there. We don't have to worry about any kind of leverage or anything based on the lower percentile odds. So yeah, we could build out some lineups.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, you want to just do that? Just build out like a lineup with 10 picks or something?
Yeah. Throw that up on the screen, Jordan. Do the pick 'em projections, and we could go through and we'll see how many of them we could get through. And then at the end too, I think we could do a quick versus the house parlay as well.
Sure.
Just put that on screen. But yeah, let's try to build this out with some of our favorite ones, and I'll try to make this bigger so I can see it on my screen. But yeah, it's kind of hard to find an exact place to start, just because, like you said, there's not, or like we've been saying, there aren't those 90+% props or anything. But one of the ones that I do think looks the best across any over or under is going to be Klay Thompson over 3.5 threes. So we recently found out that Klay is expected to be playing back-to-backs in the second half of the season, and it's an indication that he's really closer to being at full health. His minutes have been greater as of late. We've got him projected for 5.1 threes today. And then also, you just look at his overall production in the absence of Steph Curry over the last couple of weeks. And the over-under is 3.5 threes. Here are the recent games for Klay, though. 4 threes, 4 threes, 3 threes. So that was a miss, but then 7 threes, 12 threes. If you go back the last month, there's only been like 3 or 4 games that Klay Thompson has not hit 4 more threes. He's finally healthy. He's back in a good shooting rhythm. He's gotten all the cobwebs out from earlier in the year. And even last year, he was a little bit not quite himself coming back from torn ACL and torn Achilles. He missed over 2 years because of those injuries. I think Klay is finally healthy now. His production's been much better as of late. Steph Curry remains out over the last month. Klay's actually averaging close to 25 points per game. So give me Klay over 3.5 threes. That's one of my more confident picks that we have today.
I like it. Yeah, that's a great top pick. And I mean, we can continue kind of down that path, just like for the second pick, hitting these overs. I mean, the Warriors are just going to look great in general because, as you said, Steph Curry is out. But then on top of that, they're playing the Lakers. Like, these are the 2 fastest paced teams in the entire league playing against each other tonight. So should be a high scoring affair. So I'm going to go to Jordan Poole. You took the over on 3.5 threes for Klay Thompson. You could certainly do that with Jordan Poole. I think there are a couple different props here for Jordan Poole. The 2.5 line on 3-pointers. We've got Jordan Poole projected for 3.7 tonight. But we also, I guess, just to go different, I'm going to take the points prop on Jordan Poole. We've got him at 22.5 is a line. We have Jordan Poole projected for 26.9 points tonight. There's no Steph Curry. There should be a lot of scoring in this game. I think that it's a pretty clear over there. So give me the Jordan Poole over 22.5 points.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense too. And then if you look at, because you were mentioning the pace of the game, well, the total is 238.5. So one of the higher totals of the night. One thing that's also kind of funny, Neil, is just because so many of the West Coast teams are playing faster than the East Coast teams right now. If you look at the games tonight, there are 9 games on the slate. The 4 with the highest totals are the 4 later starting games of the entire slate. So the ones that I think a lot of the players are going to project well from just a total points standpoint, it's going to be in some of those later games. And one of them certainly being the Lakers Warriors game. So you mentioned there you like Poole. I already mentioned that I like Klay. So yeah, I think we put both of them on the board. Any concerns about having 2 players from the same team where we're taking overs on, or do you think it's whatever, the numbers are too low? We shouldn't be too concerned.
Yeah, like slight concern, I would say, but not enough to, like we project both of them to be well over these numbers. So I think given just how low the numbers are, as you said, the numbers are just too low. So I think in this case, I'm okay with taking the overs on both of these guys. But it is something that I kind of think about a little bit. Like, there's probably just like a little bit of negative correlation there. Is just kind of, I think, the lack of Steph Curry, the pace kind of makes up for that negative correlation. So I think I'm okay with it. But I would say, so we might not want mine as the second pick. So I think it makes sense to potentially put yours in that top 10 point spot. I think that the Jordan Poole prop may be more like a 6-pointer kind of. What do you think of that? Because there might be some unders that are a little bit better.
Yeah, no, I think that makes sense. Let's bump Jordan Poole down a little bit. And then I have one more over I like, and then we could start looking at some of the unders. But Damian Lillard has just been ridiculous from a usage standpoint. And it's funny, you and I were doing a show earlier, and we are talking about Matisse Thybulle, and we are talking about the difference in him between his offensive and his defensive numbers. And one thing that really stands out, I'm talking about like the advanced stats percentile. If I remember correctly, Matisse Thybulle 99th percentile on defense, and then 11th percentile on offense. But we now have this Portland Trailblazers team around Damian Lillard full of just crappy, terrible offensive players. As a result, his usage rates are insane right now. So Damian Lillard, we have projected fairly well as over threes. It is at, here we go, Dame. His over-under is 3.5 threes. We even projected for 4.7, so the over winning nearly 70% of the time. The usage and the shot output for Damian Lillard is just crazy right now. His 3 games before the All-Star break, he had a 45, 38, and 36% usage rate. In those 3 games, he combined hit 19 3-pointers. And that's something we're seeing pretty regularly from Dame now, going back over the last course of time. So the last week, he's averaging 6.3 threes made per game. The last month, he's averaging 4.7 threes made per game. So, we're looking at a pretty decent sample size there. 15 games where he's averaging 4.7 threes with a 34% usage rate. And once again, this is just because the way that the Trailblazers team is currently constructed, it's a lot of defense first players. And then offense, it's like, yeah, you go do everything, Dame. Anthony Simons is hurt right now, so he's not somebody to help out with the usage. Damian Lillard's taking a lot of shots, and we're not even that far removed from, if I'm not mistaken, the over-under for Damian Lillard's 3-pointers like 2 weeks ago on NHA actually was 5.5 was his 3-point line. Wow. Now it's 3.5, and there's not really a lot of reason for it to have gone down. So give me the over 3.5, and we projected for 4.7. That's another one that I feel pretty good about.
Yeah, and on top of that, they're playing the Kings, who are 10th in the league in pace of play. In terms of defensive rating, they are, where are they? They're 22nd in the league. So it's a pretty nice matchup with the Kings on top of, all of the trends within the Blazers. So yeah, I like that pick quite a bit. I think for my next one, I'm going to start going to the unders. I like the under on 2.5 3-pointers for Keldon Johnson. I already did a video on demand about these picks today, so I'm giving some of the same picks there just because they are some of the top picks on the board. I picked the under on 2.5 threes for Keldon Johnson against the Mavericks tonight. He's averaging 2.2 triples per game this season, but his attempts have decreased pretty precipitously in recent games. He's, for the season, averages more than 6 3-point attempts per game, but over the past 6 games, he's just been taking 3.5 threes per game. So just not taking that many. And with the line at 2.5, like if he's only taking, 3 or 4, it's pretty likely that he's going to be under 2.5. We've got Keldon Johnson projected for 1.7 3-pointers tonight. We have the under hitting 78% of the time. So I think sliding Keldon Johnson into one of those top spots, the under on 2.5 threes makes some sense to me.
Yeah. And then it's also worth noting too, that if you guys check out our projections, you're going to see a lot of the unders look better than the overs, not like for any real particular reason other than just that it's just something we'll see pretty frequently in our NHA projections, that there are unders that are going to end up coming away with higher confidence intervals than the over. So in general, I think we kind of want a lot of these in some of those higher point spots. But one that stands out to me, and I agree with you, Keldon Johnson projects well. I think that makes sense. We just have to keep somewhat of an eye on Jeremy Sochan, his status. If he was to be ruled out, I would still really like the Keldon Johnson under, but maybe we would just bump it down a spot or two in terms of how many points we would play it for. But either way, it would still be a really strong option. For me, though, Josh Giddey, under 1.5 threes. Really big line for Josh Giddey, who has made multiple 3-pointers in 2 games over the last 2 months, and more often than not actually doesn't make any threes. So it's funny. Look at the last 5 games for Giddey. He had 1 game against Portland where he made 2 threes, and he made 0 threes in every other game that he's had over that stretch. And Giddey's just not a good 3-point shooter. For the year, he's averaging less than a 3-pointer made per game. And then also, as the season's gone on, he's actually reduced his shot volume. So he's making 0.9 for the season, but over the last month, he's actually only making 0.5 threes per game. So that encapsulates 13 games there. So really high number for Josh Giddey. He's only had multiple threes a few times the entire season. I don't think you should ever have a 1.5 3-point prop. So under, I feel pretty good about.
Yeah, I like that call with Josh Giddey. That makes some sense. I think that I will go back to another one that I talked about earlier, another under that I like is Joel Embiid under 4.5 assists. That's just a matter of the line being a little bit too high there for Embiid. He's averaging 4.1 assists per game, and now he's got the entire team healthy. James Harden's is playing tonight. Tyrese Maxey is playing. Like there's no reason to expect Embiid to get more than a season average, and we actually have him projected for 3.5 assists tonight. So even if he gets above that, the high end, he gets 4 assists tonight. He's still getting the under on 4.5 against the Grizzlies. So I like the under on 4.5 assists for Joel Embiid. The Stokastic tools, of course, like that number as well. We have the under hitting 74% of the time. So I like that under as well.
Yeah, no, that one looks pretty good. Like you said, Joel Embiid. We've got, what's there? Oh, no, I was looking at somebody else, but Embiid, yeah, we've got the under 4.5 assists projects well. And I thought there was another prop as well. But sometimes I always find it interesting if we have two props that are projecting fairly similarly, the decision point on which one to take the under on. I don't know what you do in those scenarios, Neil, but I usually just lean towards whichever one encapsulates more stats. Like if we could get points plus rebounds plus assists, I feel like that is less variance than if it was just the straight assist prop. But for Embiid, we don't have to worry. It's just the assist here. Do you have a preference on that, though, if there's like two props from the same player that have like close to identical projections?
Not really. I mean, sometimes it'll come down to correlations. Earlier I did the Jordan Poole one, and the only reason I took the points instead of the 3-pointers is because you had just taken the 3-pointers on Klay Thompson. So yeah, there's no real strong method to how I'm choosing these. It'll change, from one pick to the next for me.
All right, my browser crashed, so I'm re-uploading, so I have all the data in front of me. But I think I know where I was going with my last one anyway. If I'm not mistaken, the over-under for points plus rebounds plus assists for Donovan Mitchell was 41.5. Is that correct?
Yep.
All right. So yeah, I like the under.
Okay.
I like the under on Donovan Mitchell there, 41.5 points plus rebounds plus assists. Just a really, really high number for Mitchell. And I don't remember exactly where we had him projected, but I do know that this is the best line you could find anywhere on Donovan Mitchell, because I'd actually bet him, I think it was under 39.5 points plus rebounds plus assists on DraftKings like 2 days ago. I was just looking at line because also I had nothing to do the last few days, and the NBA lines got released really early. So I was just looking to find any value I could possibly have. And one thing that had stood out to me was that the over-under for PRA for Donovan Mitchell looked really, really high. And now I'm looking here and it's even higher. So Donovan Mitchell, who for the season is having a really strong year, but tough matchup against Denver. Denver doesn't really play at a fast pace. And then also Donovan Mitchell, even some of his numbers are a little bit inflated because he's played a bunch of games where we've seen Darius Garland out or, various players have been out. Post All-Star break, everybody's healthy right now. And for the year, Mitchell averages 27, 4, and 5. Really strong year, but still that's, 36 PRAs is average per game. And that's in some games that, like I said, Darius Garland or Karis LeVert have been out. So much too high, probably like 5 or so, maybe even more points too high here on Mitchell. So I like the under PRA.
Yeah, I like that call as well. How many are we at now? Are we at 9 or 10?
And we don't have to fill out every single spot.
Okay. I didn't know if we're trying to fill out a whole card here. But we actually somebody just mentioned in chat, Slim Lancaster was hoping that we would talk just a little bit about the versus the house picks today. Do you want to pivot to versus the house?
Yeah, so I think this is a good core for us. Just scroll up, Jordan, so we could summarize kind of some of the ones that we have here so far. We've got Klay. Hopefully it's going to be a Klay day. Over 3.5 threes for him. We got Dame over 3.5 threes. We got Keldon Johnson under 2.5 threes. A lot of 3-point props. Josh Giddey under 1.5. Then we got Jordan Poole over 22.5. Now I see why you went with the points instead of the threes, Neil. Then Mitchell under 41.5. So those are some of the props that we liked for the pick'em contest. But yeah, we could do versus the house as well and build out a prop card here. And both you and I are going to like Ja Morant over 0.5 points.
Yep, that's I'd say that's a good one to take first overall here. I guess it doesn't really matter where you place them in the versus the house. Like every pick that you make has equal value. But I think we can go straight to that Ja Morant pick. I haven't actually looked that much at the versus the house yet today, just because the only other content I've done on this has been the pick'em. But we obviously have that Ja Morant, and you can just pick one other bet here and it's going to look really good. I mean, Jakob Poeltl right away, like it's you don't really have to dig into the stats all that much with Jakob Poeltl. We talked about it on the show earlier today. He's probably just going to play a lot more minutes in Toronto, right, than he was playing for the Spurs. So the line is at 7.5 rebounds for Jakob Poeltl. We've got him projected for 8.7 rebounds tonight. And we actually don't even have that high of a projection for his minutes. I was looking at it earlier. Our minutes projection for Jakob Poeltl is like 28 or something like that. And I think that there's upside for a lot more minutes for Jakob Poeltl. So I really like that prop line of over 7.5 rebounds. So what do you think of that one?
It's in my betting video today. And not only did I place a bet just on Jakob Poeltl over 7.5 rebounds, but you talked about the upside. For me personally, at books, I actually took some of the ladders as well. So I looked at like plus money for Poeltl, 9+ rebounds, 10+, 12+. Because yeah, I agree with you. I think there's a substantial amount of upside in the minutes for Jakob Poeltl. We just have to worry a little bit about foul trouble. But if he avoids that, this line seems very far off to me. Poeltl's last game at the Raptors, 37 minutes. He finished with 30 points and 9 rebounds. And now listen to his stats for the entire year, Neil. He's only playing 26 minutes per game dating back to his time with the Spurs, where they just don't give guys the same minutes the Raptors do. He was averaging 8.9 rebounds in 26 minutes per game. If he's actually going to be a guy that regularly plays 36, maybe even as high as 40 minutes in competitive games, he might be averaging 12, 13 rebounds per game in the second half of the year. I think everywhere, this is just a player in Jakob Poeltl who is drastically underpriced. Now, is he underpriced as a Ja Morant? Not quite that level, but this is still an over that I feel pretty good about.
Are you on live before lock tonight, Greg?
Yes, every day.
Yeah, I know that you're usually on live. I just know that you've been on so many shows already. I thought maybe you would have a day off.
No, it's not how this works. That's why I'm double booked on stuff. We've got meetings going on and shows at the same time. But yeah, Jakob Poeltl over 7.5 rebounds. We've got Ja Morant. And let's see if there's another one in here that I really like. I'm looking through some of our projections, but I want to make sure it's also something that I really like quite a bit. Like Jamal Murray stands out a little bit. Yeah. I don't know that it's one that it could be one that I get to here, but
it's tough because as we talked about, Aaron Gordon is out for that game. So you'd think, maybe Jamal Murray has a little bit more usage, shoots the ball a little bit more, but it's also a really tough matchup with Cleveland, one of the toughest matchups in the entire league. So there's, reason to like it, reason to dislike it. But at the end of the day, I kind of just lean on our projections for this kind of stuff where I'm like, I don't really have a strong feel, but it is one of our top bets on the day, 60% win percentage. So how do you think you would do? So you've got the freebie pick, right? So you're going to make, let's say we're making a bet that is $15 because that's the max that you can make with a bet that includes that Ja Morant line. So we're going to make a $15 bet. Would you just do that, the Ja plus this Jakob Poeltl? Because we both love the Jakob Poeltl line. Do you think you would just stop with just those two picks, or do you think you'd consider adding another pick or two to the bet?
Yeah, so the payouts are actually more advantageous because of the way they work on NHA to actually go to the 5 legs.
Right.
That's also something that if some of the messages we gotten from the data guys like Sean Zahn has said that like actually that's what we should be pushing. But then of course there's always a push and pull where it's like, all right, but do we want to add, like where's the cutoff in terms of, all right, if all things being equal, you want the 5-leg parlay over the 2 or 3 based on the NHA payouts. But at what point do we also not want to sacrifice some of the better plays we have?
Right.
But at least for today, if you're just blindly building off our projections, like we have a lot of them that are pretty similar here, right?
Yeah.
Boncaro, 64% win rate. Murray, 60%. We don't have one here for Ja Morant, but let's just, for all intents and purposes, consider it 99.999989999. So yeah, so these are ones that I think we should feel pretty good about, and then just plug in whatever our priorities are for some of these high projected ones. So maybe a little bit of negative correlation having them together, but I think 6.5 rebounds is too low for Pascal Siakam. We even project for 7.3. I also think that makes sense just from a standpoint of this Raptors team needs to make the playoffs, at least. So the reason that they ended up being buyers and not sellers at the trade deadline is this was a creed from ownership where they said, hey, we lost out on a bunch of revenue due to lockdowns and the fact that they weren't able to open full stadiums. And it's a team that was expected to be sellers. And then basically ownership came in and said, no, we need to make the playoffs this year for the additional revenue. So that's one of the reasons why in the second half of the year, and Nick Nurse usually does this with the rotations anyway, he is absolutely going to have to run these guys into the ground because ownership has told him we have to make the playoffs this year. So I think we're going to see guys like Pirtle, Siakam regularly play super high minutes. It's going to be over 6.5 boards for Pascal Siakam.
That's what I had not heard that narrative, but I think that makes a lot of sense. Like if the ownership is saying we got to win games, Siakam, I think probably their best player. Would you agree with that? The best player in the Raptors. He's probably going to be playing 40 plus minutes. I think that makes a lot of sense. So yeah, I like that over as well. Yeah, it's tough to. I'm with you on like I don't know where to draw the line. Like obviously we're not going to add in bets that have a 49% chance of winning, right? Like we want plus EV bets across the board. But I don't know if we want to draw that line at like 55% because, as you said, we do have a number of bets that actually look pretty good. We've got a lot of plus EV bets that we can make here. What do you think of MPJ with no Aaron Gordon? We actually like the over on 2.5 3-pointers from Michael Porter Jr. It's another one of those like it's a give and take because it is a tough matchup, but looks like a plus EV bet for us. So another one we could consider.
Yeah, I'll say, and
maybe not the best
time's already gone here, but
oh yeah,
Porter, the over threes. Yeah, I think that makes sense, particularly with Aaron Gordon being out. So let's lock that in. We'll call it a parlay, Jordan.
All right, let's lock that in and call it a parlay. But all of the information that Greg and I have given you here, you can find on Stokastic.com. So that'll be the end of our picks here, just because we are out of time here. We've already gone through a number of picks from both the Pick'em and the versus the house. But if you want to find all of our picks, they are free on Stokastic. You just need to go to Stokastic.com, NBA dropdown, free NBA DFS data. Go to the no house advantage option, and you'll find our no house advantage projections for both versus the house and pick'em, and also optimal lineups for the pick'em contest. So head over to Stokastic and go find those options there, because all the picks we just gave you, you can find them on the site, and you can find all of the other picks we like on the site as well. Reminder, if you haven't already, please do like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification button to get alerts when our shows go live. Thanks a lot for watching, and good luck tonight.